Hello and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad that you're joining us again today. Today we have the wonderful Mark Becker on with us. Mark has been one of the leaders in the holistic New Age community in New York for for decades. From the Serenity Yoga Center to New Life Magazine, New Millennium Magazine, and the New Life Expo and the New Millennium Expo. There is not a person that Mark doesn't know and who hasn't been part of Mark's roster over the years. He really attracts just very wonderful people to his expos, into his magazines, and he's just been really serving New York, and much larger than New York, for a long, long time. Mark.
Thank you.
Well, absolutely.
That's a great introduction.
It's true, though. You know, it's just not often that we get a chance to kind of acknowledge our local heroes. You know, people who have really been staying the course for a long time, staying with what they believe in their hearts, and no matter what, just making it work. And you've been that.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really believe they were all, and all of you that are listening to this, they were all just catalysts in serving what we think life should be. And so we're all just that same catalyst.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Take a look, if you will,
Look out.
at this beautiful, really nice. I like this cover a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. New Millennium Expo, which is happening this weekend, right?
Yes. So November 20, 21, 22. And David, my graphic artist, spent days making that cover. I think it's really beautiful.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
It really is. Looks great. So, who's going to be there? You've got a nice lineup. Sean David Morton again, Barbara Handclough.
Yeah, we have a roster.
Wonderful.
A lot of speakers that I never had before. One is John Roger, who wrote The Spiritual Warrior. And John is also a very old timer, has been around a long, long time.
Yes.
From the MSIA movement all the way through writing with Peter McNichols, all the way through now. Julia Cameron, an old friend, who wrote The Artist's Way.
Yes.
And if you haven't read The Artist's Way, it'd be a nice book to read. And she also wrote The Vein of Gold, and she'll be doing an incredible workshop. And an old friend, Barbara Handclough. Barbara's written a lot of books, and she's also in charge of Becker Company.
Becker Company out in Santa Fe.
Which has put out some of the best books from the new millennium that I've seen so far.
Absolutely. She has such a take on the universe.
Yes.
Her cosmology is so magnificent and so finely wrought. It's impressed me every single time I've seen her.
What I love about Barbara is that, and like a lot of the other speakers, they really prick your mind and open up the part of the mind that may be dormant. And once that part of the mind is open, you think of so many different possibilities. As with Barbara Marciniak, and this is the first time we'll have her.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
They both have a galactic perspective.
Yes. And
I don't find it airy-fairy like sometimes it can be. It's not that. I find it, sounds funny, but very grounded. It's looking up. It's like an astronomer, and taking everything into consideration in the larger whole.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And it's like an old saying, it's this saying by Walter Reinder that says, do not reject, we do not understand. With understanding may come acceptance. So some of the speakers, unlike Barbara, who wrote Bringers of the Dawn and talks about the Palladian civilization, just because we haven't seen something or experienced something or understand something doesn't mean that it is. So as long as we
or isn't.
So if we think of the possibility of that and just go along with it as if it is true, we can discover that many times it is true.
That's right. And that reminds me of an old phrase, which comes to us from the Sufis, I believe, which is, I'll see it when I believe it. People, of course, do just the opposite. They won't believe anything until they see it, as though that means something because they've seen it. It's not it. But when the heart opens, the mind opens accordingly as well.
That's right.
And so when you believe something, that is, believe like believing in God necessarily, but accept the possibility of, perception psychology has proven over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Once the idea is kind of seated in the mind, it can be seen in the world.
Right. In fact, we were talking just before about Da Vinci, and what Da Vinci wrote about and said and drew about became a reality years and years later.
Yeah.
So that either people like Da Vinci or Sean David or Barbara or Mitchell Rabin, I mean, these people may be from another time. These people may be from another planet. And it's possible that we are also. So if we can just tap into who we are, where we came from, and realize that we're all from the same place, and it would make our life here a lot more enjoyable.
That's right. Exactly.
And a lot more fun.
Yeah. And what's the big deal? I mean, one of these things they say about dust, is that yes, it's skin cells, dead skin cells, but I've also heard it said by notable authorities that it's also stardust. Mm-hmm. It actually is just kind of galactic waste, if you will, residue that has fallen to Earth.
I like that better.
Isn't that neat? It's better than dead skin cells.
I like that better. Yeah.
But it's just like it's one big universe, and it only makes sense that we're constantly interacting on all different kinds of levels and dimensions.
Yes. And it's like if we were living on a different planet and saw John Glenn coming at us, what would they think? Yes. What would they think of that?
Exactly.
And hopefully a lot better than what we would think if we saw them coming at us.
Really, really true. Well, you've got to really, I'm speaking at your expo as well.
Yes, Mitchell Rabin is speaking at the expo.
That's right.
When are you speaking?
On, I think, Friday night, 8 o'clock.
Okay.
In one of those rooms there. I'll be speaking about meaningful vocation. Vocation, which comes from the Latin voco, to call, as in a person embodying a call in life. That people don't really fulfill their souls by having a job just working for something like security or money. That's really not where it's at. But by listening to one's soul calling, by connecting to something more precious and quieter inside oneself, one can reach out and by reaching in and live a life full of meaning. I mean, after all, isn't that what we're really looking for?
I hope so.
If we're looking for love, it's because we've given meaning to love. We're looking for excitement because we've given meaning to excitement. If we've given meaning to living on a planet that works for everybody, that's harmonious, then we get meaning out of that. And we have a life that we say is just full of, you wake up into that every day.
Yes. So
that's that lecture.
And yes, so it is Friday at 8. Also on Friday, for those that don't know what an expo is, I mean, we have a lot of different exhibitors, over 100 exhibitors on everything in New Millennium, everything from holistic medicine to natural health to environmental products and to human potential products to spiritual products.
It's staggering. It really is.
And thank you. And also in synergy with that, we have over 100 speakers giving lectures. And the lectures are, and the show is on Friday from 3:30 to 10. And on Saturday from 10 to 9. And Sunday it goes from 11 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So you can see any one of the speakers for a very, very low price. I mean, for the price of a double featured movie theater, you can see Mitchell and 100 other speakers. Also on Friday, again, as before, if you bring in food for the homeless, you'll get into the exhibit hall for free and for a minimal price be able to go to the lectures. And not only do we have lectures, we have a lot of panels. And
that's right.
The panels on channeling and on vibrational medicine and a UFO panel. We have workshops for people that want a little bit more in depth than a lecture. And for the first time ever, we're doing Monday really in-depth workshops.
Yeah.
And that's going to be very special.
Yes.
With Barbara Marciniak, with Star Fuentes, and with Sean David Morton. So
fabulous.
If you just go to the lectures, you'll get a smorgasbord of everybody. If you go to the workshops, you'll learn a little bit more. If you want a very in-depth full day, you can come on Monday.
That's great.
And otherwise, you just come to the exhibit hall, see all the exhibits, get to meet thousands of people that are like yourself that are also searching and want to share what they know. We have a natural food dining area, so you'll be able to eat.
Incredibly interesting people. It's also like Old Home Week for many of us who've been coming since they've begun here.
A lot of people have met their fiancés there. A lot of people have met their mates there. A lot of people have met their teachers there. A lot of people have met the healers there. If you don't feel well, I guarantee that you will feel so much better when you leave that show.
That's right.
We have an incredible bookstore. Almost any book that you want, you'll be able to find at the bookstore. You don't even have to buy them. Just you can come and read and look. And we guarantee that if you can't find the book there, that we will get you the book. That's 100%.
Wow.
The food is very good. You'll be able to eat there all day. If you have a child, and you can bring your child and bring them to the children's room and we'll watch them while you're looking around. But the bottom line is you'll be able to
taking care of everybody.
I think so. Because we want people to come to enjoy each other, and in an atmosphere where they can really learn and share what they have. Because all you that come, not only are you going to be learning, you'll be teaching. Because there's something that you have to share that someone else there would love to hear about.
Yeah, it's really true. Everybody's a participant and everybody's a teacher.
Yes.
It really is that.
Yes.
And it's a place, it's a gathering place. In a place like New York, there aren't that many places that we can kind of come together for a few days on end.
That's right.
And hang out with people that we know, that we love, that we're friendly with, that we've wanted to get to know, and people who have been doing some really solid research into some really interesting areas, whether it's UFOs, into the mystical experience, into the environmental world and what we need to do to take care of our Earth. There are always people there who have done some real homework.
Right.
And it's great to be able to just very informally, actually, hang out, ask questions, learn, teach.
And in different times of our life, at different times in our life, we're all at different places. So that something you might not have asked at the last show, or something you might not have heard in the last show, you may be ready, ready to hear that now.
Yeah.
Because you have to have the right question to get the right answer.
Yeah. So who else is going to be showing up?
Oh, Sean David Morton will be there, and Sean again has given us.
We've had Sean on the show several times.
Yes, and a lot of the prophecies he said in May did come true. So what Sean does is he combines ideas from Da Vinci, from the Bible, from Edgar Cayce, from Egypt, and somehow puts it all together and comes up with prophecies that
he's an amazing synthesizer.
That come true, and they do come true.
Yeah. Well, he also spent time in a monastery, a Tibetan monastery, learning the practice of future projection. So he learned through assiduous practice in a monastic setting by Tibetans how to take his mind and enter the future dimension.
And he has some mind.
And he comes back with something very substantial. Yes. And he has some mind.
Yes. Definitely come see Sean David. He's one of my favorite lecturers. We have some very good healers. He's
often funny.
Yes, he's very funny. Very funny.
If
you grab him in the hallway, ask him to tell you a joke. That'll be nice.
Right. Just be careful where you grab him.
Oh, no. So we have Zev Coleman and Star Fuentes.
Zev.
Two very well-known healers. Two very good healers.
Zev, who we just interviewed, and I've had Star on also. She's wonderful. Zev is an internationally renowned healer who actually got his experience of being a healer through contact with a UFO. I mean, do you know the story?
No.
It's phenomenal. He was in the Israeli army. He didn't know what a UFO was, nothing. He was just out on the mountain for a walk one very early morning. And he doesn't even call it a UFO. He calls it a ship, a metal thing. It just came near him and hovered over him and cast a shadow near him. And he, at a certain point, went out. He saw some formations in a cloud, which he describes as entities. And then it all disappeared, and he touched a friend of his just like casually, and his friend said, "My God, you feel like electricity." He went, "What? You're crazy." Anyway, the whole thing came out of his being in the Army. He was an interior decorator with his family. He didn't know nothing about healing.
So all you interior decorators
Exactly.
can be tremendous healers. And we can all be healers. And
That's
if we
right.
take different workshops and different lectures, you learn how to tap into that healing power within you.
That's right. Star,
Yeah.
she also has an amazing story. I'm not going to tell the whole thing now.
Uh-huh.
She has traveled around the world studying with different tribes, medicine men, medicine women, shamans, learning literally hundreds of different healing techniques,
Mhm.
and has as at the base of her work sacred geometry and her understanding of the relationship of geometry to manifestation. So with that as the basis as the foundation for healing work, there's no limit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she does amazing things.
Yep, she has done, just in the expo, I know in the last expo when she demonstrated, some of the people just completely just got blown backwards from her energy. What the beautiful thing is just to watch, learn, and ask about how people can heal and how you can be healed, how you can heal. And people like Star, like Zeb, I think are two good people because they're very accessible.
Yep.
What I just
Sure.
want to say before I know that I have to go. So the expo is November 20th to 22nd. It's at the Hotel New Yorker, which is on 34th and 8th. To save yourself a little bit of money and to make sure that you're going to get into some of the workshops, and especially the Monday workshops because they'll be closed out, if you call for pre-registration, the number is 212-787-1600, and by calling, you'll be able to get pre-registration and get a tremendous discount. And also, if you're listening to this on Monday, you could
Monday morning.
you can call
And Thursday afternoon.
and Thursday. But on the Monday one, if you call, you'll be able to receive this brochure in the mail.
On the mail.
Yeah,
Great.
if you call us, we'll actually send it to you, and you'll get it in time to pre-register.
Wonderful.
And I me on again.
Absolutely, Mark.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And 8 o'clock Friday, Mitchell Rabin's lecture. Come meet Mitchell in person. I know you've watched him for so long on TV. You should come meet him in person, and you'll see he's even better.
Thank you, my friend.
God bless you.
I love the work you're doing. Give me my microphone back and you're free to go. Okay. Well, that's Mark Becker, friend for a long time. And as I said at the beginning, Mark is one of those somewhat unsung heroes, who just keeps working and working and working quite diligently and committedly over the years. And there are so many people that are doing great things that don't get acknowledged, and Mark is certainly one of them. So many stories fly around when somebody has some level of notoriety. People tend to trade in on their reputations quite cheaply. It's most unfortunate. And Mark, like others, have suffered such. But when you get to know him and really hear the commitment that he has toward creating a better world through the expos, through the magazines, you realize that, here walks a true man, someone who can really and has really made a major difference in this world. The New Age community, so to speak, and I just use that phrase out of convenience, really has ripened so much in this town due to the efforts of Mark and people like Mark. And Mark is in particular a leader. He has taken a big bite out of life. He has taken tremendous risks, financial and otherwise, to bring top people to New York to expose New York, really, to high-level teachings on consciousness, on the environment, on healing. And this continues. I remember at his first expo, actually, I spoke on flotation tank therapy and stress reduction. Since then, he's been doing these, laying them out year after year, sometimes twice a year. And now the New Millennium Expo is one of the newest expressions of the work he's doing, which is tilted slightly more toward mystical experience, where the New Life is a bit more focused on holistic health. In fact, there's a pretty considerable overlap. But when I think about watching the Expo's grow in momentum over the years, he's pretty much the only one who has consistently been here for New Yorkers year after year, season after season, when other expos have come and gone. They really haven't been here in any kind of consistent, reliable way to bring the New York community a place for community, a place where people who are willing to not walk the usual walk that goes on in life, not just in New York City, but in life in general. People who are willing to be unconventional, courageous, and daring in their interpretation of life and what reality is all about. This is a place where we congregate. One of the places we congregate, one of the better places we do. And it's a chance to just kind of hubbub, rub elbows with people who perhaps see life from a more expanded, more creative, more artistic, more humorous, perhaps even more enlightened point of view. So I know I've always enjoyed going there, and I will again this time. Now, just to share with you a few words, a little bit about what I'll be speaking about for those of you who may want to attend. When you look at your life and you think about how it is you spend that most valuable commodity called time, it makes you want to live a life and spend your time in a way that is deeply meaningful, something that moves your heart, not just something that will pay the rent. Because if that's the case, who are you living for? Yourself or for your landlord? Now, surely there are times in life when we all do things that we feel we need to do to reach a certain end. And this is absolutely, completely valid, legitimate. And then it gets to a certain point when we have a certain kind of reflection where we say, my God, the clock is ticking. What am I doing with my life? How is it passing? What does it really consist of? What, pray tell, are my values? And how are these being projected? How are these being expressed in my life and the choices I make on a daily basis? So when a person starts to do that kind of self-inquiry, it opens up doors. And at this time in life and in our society, probably more than ever before, we are at a point of needing good people to do good things. We need people in the healthcare industry. We need people in the environmental movement. We need people who are willing to do something to help clean up the sidewalks, the air, the water. Because this way society has sort of been fleshing out over the past several centuries. It has been focused primarily on monetary gain, on materialistic acquisition at any cost. And it's truly, truly a mental illness. I will stand by that. It is truly a mental illness that breeds this kind of behavior of material benefit at any cost. I've mentioned that I've been down recently at the Indigenous Peoples Conference that was held, where we had several shows on the subject, down in Virginia Beach at the beginning of October. One of the most underlying themes was how we have really lost sight of our values as a society, how we've got caught up in this machinery of society, in this consumerist mentality, and we've lost our ordinary, real, simple bearings in life. And to spend so much time with these indigenous peoples, ordinary folk, many of them, who came to gather and talk about what it's like to be in their own villages, in their own communities, and what they see when they look at, the Western white man's world. It's so odd to them. It's a bit fascinating on one hand, but it's very odd. And they just can't quite make heads or tails of why we do things the way we do them, why we do many of the things that we do at all. And I can just tell you that it was very, very humbling to be in their midst, in their very powerful spiritual presence, and hear what they have to say, and get feedback that we don't often get from people who are leading a much quieter, much simpler life. That money is not the be-all, end-all. And culture is. Life with family, a life full of love, respect for nature, in communion with the trees, because the trees aren't seen as entirely separate from one's own treeness, if you will. There is an inherent relationship on the level of heart. And so when they speak, if you will, often as Mother Earth, not separate from, not just walking on, but actually part of her family, like a limb of a tree. It's very different. It's a different orientation. So I'm saying this because there is a sense of meaning that informs their lives that I feel all of us can have if we clarify our minds and simplify our hearts. This is what my talk is going to be addressing. And it's going to have a practical function as well, where we're going to be doing a couple of exercises to help people who are in attendance relate to some of what I'm saying directly and very personally, experientially, if you will, and come to a place where they can perhaps see what it is best for them in this life. So, again, I just want to show you this beautiful design of the New Millennium Expo magazine and remind you that it is this weekend. Mark Becker, who was our guest for the earlier part of this show, is the producer, the promoter of this wonderful show, and it's right here at the Hotel New Yorker, and you can call him at 212-787-1600. Oh, you probably won't reach him, but you can certainly call and find out more information for yourselves and your family and your loved ones and your friends. Thanks so much for joining us. We love getting your feedback on the show. Please call at 212-420-0800 and let me know your thoughts and feelings. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.